It's the end of summer and the gardens are exploding with all of their fruits and vegetables, and people have enough that they're willing to share. Hi, I'm Jenny. Today we are going to use the spaghetti squash that my daughter brought home from work from her manager's garden. So we are going to make a Southwestern style spaghetti squash bowl. Let's get started. For this recipe we are going to need 1 spaghetti squash, some olive oil or a non-stick spray, a small onion, a red pepper, half a green pepper, 1 small can of corn, half a cup of black beans, 2 to 3 cloves of garlic, 1 teaspoon each chili powder, paprika, cumin, and coriander. And then for the toppings, we are going to sprinkle on about the juice of half of a lime. I forgot a lime, but I have some lime juice here. As much cilantro as you would like, and then some type of cheese. We are going to start by cutting the squash in half lengthwise. Sometimes the spaghetti squash are really difficult to cut. Really, any squash. So we'll see how this goes. But if you find that to be the case, that if you can't get the knife through, what you can do is poke it with a fork like 6-ish times. I think maybe I'm gonna try that. Or a knife, why not? I've got the knife here. We're just going to give it a few pokes, and then we're going to microwave it. Microwave, I'm thinking light. Microwave it for 5 minutes, and then it should be just fine. You want to put a couple holes in here so that it doesn't explode in the microwave. I heard the sizzling after 3 minutes, so I stopped it. Where the holes are, there was a little bit of like bubbles coming out too. But I thought, well, we'll just try it anyways. It's warm, let it sit for a minute or two so that it's cool enough to the touch that you can touch it, but it's still fairly hard to cut. So I could have let it go a little bit longer, but I thought I would just give it a try. It's the only thing. I love eating squash, but it's the whole trying to cut them open. That's the hard part. I think I'm going up that way for the cut it crossways because of the stem still being on here. I guess you could have cut off the stem part. That would make sense too. I think I've seen some people do that. But I figured, you know what, it's already hard enough to cut the squash. Just cutting it in half. Alright. That should help too. There. Alright. We will cut it a little bit off. See how we did. Good enough. It's just nice this way when you have a whole half a squash like this that you can actually use it to eat in. So once the squash is all cooked, then you can leave it in there and put the other ingredients in. Or today we're going to cook it all together and then put them back in here for serving. So that's okay. Alright, this squash has a bunch of seeds in the middle, so you want to scoop those out. If you have a spoon that has serrated edges, that sometimes helps. Otherwise, just use a big spoon. It'd be easier probably also with a bigger spoon. This is a smaller spoon, but those serrated edges sometimes make it a little bit easier. And if you want to, these seeds are just like pumpkin seeds. You can also save them and cook them. I have done that with one of my acorns. I had cooked the seeds, did a different seasoning on them. It turned out okay. Alrighty. Once you have finished getting that out. All out. So have it all scraped out. I'm going to do that to the other one and then we'll move on. Of course, the one I did off camera went really quickly and smoothly. So there we have both halves, like I said, nicely all scraped out. Now you want to take some olive oil and drip it all over, give it a nice coating, or take your spray. And actually I'm going to spray it on the pan because you want to make sure you do it a big amount, and then in reality I'm going to spray my pan so that it doesn't stick as much to the pan. Sometimes as the squash cooks and it leaks out some of its juices, then it kind of sticks to the pan a little bit more. So you can put down aluminum foil, help with clean up a little bit afterwards, or if you give it a good spray, that should also work too. So preheat your oven to 400 degrees, and when that is all ready, we are going to cook this for about 40 to 60 minutes until it's nice and soft. So again, we'll check it at that 40 minutes and stick our knife in here again and see how easily it goes in. It should just slide right in. That's when you know that your squash is done. While the squash is cooking, we will go ahead and drain our corn. Let's have a colander here in the sink. And we'll go ahead and just put that in a bowl off to the side. And we'll go ahead and drain the beans. We will only need half a cup of the beans. We won't need all of them. So I'm just going to drain them and rinse them, measure out half a cup, and then put that in the same bowl with the corn. Just make sure you get all the beans out because they like to stick at the bottom of the can. We will now just go ahead and prepare our other ingredients. So I'm going to chop up the peppers, the onion, mince the garlic, chop up some cilantro, and we'll see where we are at for the squash being done. I did not try growing straws. I thought about growing squash in my garden, but I tried pumpkins one year and that didn't really work. So as far as growing the squash, I'm like, well, I know they're very viney and take up a lot of room, and I have a very small garden area. So even when I was doing the pumpkins, or the watermelon, I did pumpkins. They were growing across my patio. And unfortunately, I had nothing grow. They didn't get pollinated or whatever. So, that's the way that goes. So it was very nice that my daughter's assistant manager has a garden, and she had too many vegetables for herself. So she brought some to work to share. Cassie was like, sure, my mom will eat them. So as I said, I do like squash. I try to buy it more in the fall when it's here. I'm putting those in the wrong dish. These are supposed to go in here. Dun dun dun. I was going to use that as my scrap bowl. Silly me. Anyways, yes, I tried to eat more squash in the fall. So it's just a matter of, like I said, if I can get them cut open, or I have my husband cut them open for me. My mom likes squash. So same, if I'm able to get some all cut up for us, cooked, make it a meal. It's very nice to do something like this then, where you have a recipe that adds more ingredients, where it's not just squash. I like that too. I just eat squash and butter and salt. But like I said, when you add just a little bit more, make it a little bit more hearty. Because otherwise for me the squash doesn't really just fill me up. Like I said, it's usually a side dish, but you can make it a main meal. How do you guys like to eat it? Do you add extras to it? Just do butter and salt? I think I've seen some with brown sugar also. I think I've tried that. It was alright, just like with sweet potatoes. Add the brown sugar to that. Usually I eat the acorn squash. There too, I think one of my friends used to eat spaghetti squash, and when I went to go visit her, she had made it for me. And I thought, oh, that was actually really tasty. And it's kind of neat why they call it a spaghetti squash, is how the fibers kind of separate and look like spaghetti. It doesn't really taste like spaghetti. It still tastes like squash, but it's just a little bit different. It's a little bit different than an acorn squash. So it's nice too. Get some different flavors. Oh, I've taken to try to save some of the seeds from some of the vegetables I've been cutting and putting them in my little planters on the table. So I have some peppers. I think there actually there's a red pepper growing, and cucumbers just sprouted. So we'll see what I can grow inside, because same, you still need all the pollination once those flowers happen. And it is late in the season. It's not time to start growing things really. So we'll see if anything comes of that. But I always feel so bad throwing out seeds. I read somewhere once that people in the old country or way out in the country, sometimes what they do is they take their seeds and they just sprinkle them along like the cracks of the road, sides of the road, so that things can grow there, and then like anybody that needs them, wants them, can pick them and use them. I know one of my neighbors used to do some gardening around here, and she would take her seeds and stuff and just throw them in her garden. And I'm like, well, that's interesting. As opposed to planting all in one area, going, okay, this is my pepper area, and this is my cucumber area. For me, it'd be hard. Like, I'm not savvy enough to know. It's like, okay, well, what's a plant and what's a weed that's growing? Gotta make sure you always get the tops of the peppers. You don't want to waste all that goodness. This would be a peppery-full. Pepperful dish. I have some red pepper in the freezer right now that I'm thinking I might need to find a soup recipe that I want to make. So I can use that up before it gets too frozen. My freezer burned. But I'm glad I came up with something to be able to use this one for, 'cause same, I've had it for a week now and I'm like, oh, gotta use it before it starts to go soft and stuff. I've made I think a broccoli and cheese spaghetti squash before. That's here on the channel. So that was very tasty also. Very cheesy. So wonderful. Just look at all those seeds. Look how many plants you could have. Oh. There's about a minute left, so I figure we will take this out. A minute. And let's see what we think. Ooh, it's sizzling. Take my knife. Yeah. That is soft enough. So go ahead and turn off the oven. We will let those sit and cool for a little bit. And while we do that, we will start heating up our other ingredients. So, in a nice big pan, take about a tablespoonish or so of oil. Get the fruit fly out first. Okay. Oh, I need a spatula. That would be helpful. We'll go over medium to medium-low heat. Go ahead and cook the onions and peppers until the onions are fairly translucent. So that'll take a couple minutes. Vegetables are always so pretty when they're raw. They're so vibrant. Smell good. But anyways, we will let those cook. Alright, once the onions are translucent, we will go ahead and I cut up just a little bit of the cilantro. So we'll add that in here. We'll add the garlic. My other seasonings in, chili powder. So depending on how spicy you like your dishes, you can, instead of the green pepper, add in a jalapeno. And you can also add some red pepper flakes at this point. I think that was the only other. Check that out. And if you didn't have coriander, you could add 2 teaspoons of cumin instead. Now let's get this. Oh, you know what? I want to mix the seasoning in with these vegetables first. No. Peas and corn. Yummy, yummy. I could eat it just like this. Alright, while that's heating through, kind of do this two ways. With your spaghetti squash, that is still warm. Again, like I said, why they call it the spaghetti squash is when you take your tines of the fork now that it's all cooked, and you run it through, it kind of looks like spaghetti noodles. So what you want to do is take out a good 1/2 to 3/4 of the squash, and we're going to add that into our pan. I guess alternatively, you can just kind of get this all separated up like this, and then you can just add all of the vegetables right on top. I think, well, that could be just from the side. Got a little bit of a darker area, but I think that was from the top. Sometimes it gets a little caramelized on the top. Alright, do that with both of them. The spaghetti squash was just a tad on the smaller side, so you can get larger spaghetti squash for the amount of ingredients, vegetables and all that we have. You just may have some extra. Okay. The amount of vegetables I have, I could have used more spaghetti. More squash. That's alright. That's what I was thinking. With it being smaller, I'm like, it almost have been better if I just put the vegetables on top. You know, like I said, separate out all the squash. Alright. It's just kind of heated through a little bit, but my squash was still a little warm, so it was just a matter of getting those beans and corn heated through. Then we're just going to take this mixture and pour it all right back in. Just to see how much you get on your stove. Oh. I believe this recipe was for like a 3-pound squash. Mine was probably like 1.5 pounds, so I could have gone half of the ingredients, but I kind of thought again, like, like I said, then you still have all of this extra that you can just eat, just like as a salad, just on a plate by itself. All right, and we'll sprinkle some cheese on top. Alright, we will add some of our cheese. Like I said, mozzarella is just my cheese of choice for this. You can add whatever cheese you'd like. The Southwestern style spaghetti squash bowl is finished. So I guess, like I said, with the amount of squash that I had had here, I would have probably just put the ingredients, the vegetables type stuff on top of my spaghetti squash, as opposed to scooping out the spaghetti squash into the dish. Because I have a good amount of leftovers, but we'll see how much spaghetti I actually taste in all this with the vegetables. Although I see I have a good forkful here. Okay. I don't know if it's going to be too hot. Oh, it's a good bite full of spaghetti, so I taste that. I taste the corn, pepper. So it's good. Probably could use a little salt. I didn't put salt on here because Mom can't really have salt. There's my steam. Vegetables are still just a tad firm. It's good. Get some flavor with the cheese. I'll taste a hint of all the other spices that I put in there. Kind of like when you have a chili. And you just get that mouth covering of all the spices. So I think this is pretty neat. Like I said again, you have a whole bunch of other vegetables in there along with the spaghetti squash. Squash itself doesn't taste like a whole lot. It basically tastes like whatever you're putting on there, hence the butter and the salt and whatever other ingredients you want to put on. So having all the beans and the corn and peppers and onions and all those good flavorings in there spices it up a little bit. With spices. Yeah, gives it a little more flavor. So I hope you enjoyed this recipe. Let me know if you like to make spaghetti squash and what ways you make it. I do have a recipe on this channel that I've made, I believe, with broccoli cheese spaghetti squash. I know that was really good too. But I am going to go enjoy my lunch. You guys keep it positive. Go make it a great day. Bye-bye.